What's going on, guys? It's the Bigs Podcast, episode number 84. This is part 2 of our week 14 review. Today, we are, of course, going to talk about the week that was for 4 more matchups here in week 14. And with me tonight during the All-Star game, my co-host, my roommate, my best friend, Ben Nisman. Benny, how are you feeling tonight with the All-Star game on?
Feeling great, man. It's been a nice, relaxing couple of days. You and myself getting some momentum coming out of the break. And we have to talk about the surprise manager of the year so far. That and so much more. Joe Schubert, please set the table. Lead us off, my friend.
Let's get going, boys. Now, we're going to talk first about Ben's matchup with Adam Lowenstein. Now, Benji, you got yourself a 12-7 victory here. How are you feeling coming out of this one?
Well, after 3 weeks in a row with a loss, it's just nice to get off the schneid. You know, even having an 11-9 win, a 10-9 win, something, just that at the end of the day, when I turn on my phone and I see in the morning some confetti, I feel a little bit better.
No doubt. On Sunday, some things were certainly flipped and spun around. It was a wild Sunday for you, Benji. You led by 3 runs, and you can see that Adam gets that one. Triples were tied. He also got that one, and he led by an error, but he gave that one back to you. You led by 12 innings, and he threw the world at you. And you led by 14 strikeouts, and he flipped that one on you. However, those are the only 2 that he was able to get on the pitching side. So I think you'll let those 2 go. Close categories this week. You win by the stolen base, the win, the loss, the save, and 3 walks by a pitcher. He wins by the triple, looks like 24 ticks on the on-base percentage, and you guys tied in runs. Benji, on your bench this week, sir, you went 10 for 35.
All right, not ideal. 305.
It's 286 with 4 runs, 3 doubles, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, and an error. The error plays. Good job keeping that off the field. But the 4 runs also play. Grichuk had a solo home run. Bell had a home run. Bell had a really nice Saturday for you. So that's where those exist. Your moves this week, you dropped Enyel De Los Santos for Trent Grisham, 0 for 2 with 2 runs, 2 walks, and a strikeout. Dropped John Birdie for Dylan Carlson, 1 for 3. Dropped Trent Grisham for Phil Bickford, a clean relief appearance. Dropped Dylan Carlson for CJ Abrams, 1 for 3 with a walk and a strikeout. Dropped Phil Bickford for Amir Garrett, an inning, a walk, a strikeout, 1 whip, and of course, the relief appearance. Dropped Amir Garrett for Michael Lorenzen, 5 innings, a win, 4 strikeouts, and an 060 whip. Dropped Colin McHugh for Brandon Williamson, 3 innings, a walk, 4 strikeouts, and 067 whip. Neither of those guys gave up a run, so that was like almost an entire baseball game without an earned run, so good job there. Dropped Williamson for Miguel Castro. Was that the waiver claim?
Yes, it was.
Okay. An inning, a 1 whip, and a relief appearance, no save. Michael Lorenzen gets dropped for Alex Vesia, a third of an inning, a strikeout, and a relief appearance. Dropped Tyler Anderson for Tyler Rogers, an inning, an earned run, 3 whip, and a relief appearance. And finally, dropped Alex Vesia for Wade Miley, which was a good start and benched.
Mm-hmm.
We'll hit your MVP here real quick. Nolan Arenado is the guy this week. 346 with a 400, 6 runs, 4 doubles, 3 bombs, 8 RBIs, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter, going to go Carlos Santana this week, man. 087 and a 192. 4 runs, 2 RBIs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, and an error. For the Cy Young, I'm going to go with Kenta Maeda. And what did Kenta Maeda do for you here? 7 innings, a win, a bomb, a walk, 9 strikeouts, a 1.29 and an 0.57. And the Cy Yuck goes to Andrew Chafin. An inning and 2/3, a loss, a bomb, a walk, 2 strikeouts, a 10.80 and a 2.40. I'm going to pause here just so you can give your input on what this week was for you, because it felt like there was some frustration as the week kept going with Adam's team.
Yeah, well, before I even get into that, Joe, I did want to mention that you might have missed a couple of things that I flipped on Sunday. One was walks given up by a pitcher that he had the lead there, and with all the pitchers he threw, that turned, as well as losses. Losses was something that I was able to grab because he threw all those guys. So there was more that got done, and yes, it was a very frustrating week as it gradually went. Andrew Chafin finally got an appearance to an opportunity to get the save, and he was within a strike, even strike three to our guy, actually Francisco Alvarez, got tipped in and out of the glove of Carson Kelly that would have closed the game. And obviously, as a Mets fan, I'm happy because he gets another pitch. On the fantasy side, then the bomb goes, and it's like, wow, like that close of getting a save. And this is the week. This is the 1 week that I felt like saves might not be gettable because Adam has Kimbrel and Adam has, who's the other closer that he's got on the Braves, Iglesias. And it was going to be a grind. And alas, I thought that once that happened, and then the Mets tack on a rally, and Canha gets the RBI triple, and it's like, okay, I went from one strike to getting a save, and now I get the loss, like just like that, and it's not feeling too good. And then on Friday, I had the lead going into Friday with saves still, and then within a minute, boom, boom, Kimbrel and Iglesias get their saves. But Joe, what I will say, and I'll get more into it later, is as much as I felt like I've had some bad luck over the last 3 weeks, I got really, really lucky this past week. This was one of the more lucky, fortunate weeks that I've had. I managed pretty well, but certain things happened that I did not expect to fall in my favor.
All right, I'm sure we'll get into those shortly. For Adam Lowenstein this week on his bench, Benji, it's a 1 for 13.
Wow, that's insane. Well, is it point 87?
It's 0.77. With a run, an RBI, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, and 2 errors. So good job keeping the errors out of the lineup. The 1 run was an 0 for 3. So take that for what it is. Everything else doesn't play. A couple of moves this week. He dropped Cutter Crawford for Christopher Sanchez, dropped G1 Bay for Will Benson over 4 with a strikeout, dropped Benson for Travis Jankowski, who didn't play, dropped Dustin May, added Bryce Miller, who's on the IL, dropped Emmett Sheehan for Ryan Nelson, 3 innings, 2 bombs, a strikeout, 21 ERA, and a 3 whip. Dropped Owen Miller for IKF, an 0 for 3, and then dropped Drew Rasmussen, who's off for surgery. Thank you very much for your season. Have a great off season. His MVP this week, it's Manny Machado, isn't it, Benji?
For sure.
478 with a 556, 8 runs, a double, 4 bombs, 13 RBIs, 4 walks, and only 1 strikeout. The least valuable hitter I'm giving to Elias Diaz with his 188, and 6 strikeouts. For his Cy Young, we're going with Joe Ryan. 10 1/3, a loss, 3 bombs, 3 walks, 19 strikeouts, a 6.10, and a 135. He only won innings and strikeouts. He led the team in strikeouts, and he had more than 2 starts on the week, or he had 2 starts on the week. The Cy Young is Max Scherzer, who was not great.
Awful.
11 innings, a win, a loss, 5 bombs, 5 walks, 16 strikeouts, a 736, and a 145. Just not the greatest week of pitching for Mr. Lowenstein. Benji, take it over from here, my friend.
All right. Well, I'll start by saying that this was a great opponent, and I got to text him today to just wish him, that it was a great matchup, and he made me work hard. And I was happy to hear that he said, it kind of sucks that I've gotten addicted to this and now I have to wait till Friday to play. Like, that's a really good sign that he's having a tough season, that he just took a loss, and all he wants to do is continue to compete. So I wanted to start there. Sunday was crazy because I went with Wade Miley as a bluff, and I don't know if it would have mattered, but Adam started 4 guys and they were all terrible. Like,
Mhm.
and that's what I'm saying. Like, if I can go back to Sunday for a moment, how much do you really expect? If 4 pitchers are coming at you and they're basically like top guys, it's not like we're talking about Patrick Corbin and Blake Lively, Ben
Yeah.
Lively. I call him Blake Lively, but
So does everybody else who has him.
right. Kyle Hendricks, Dane Dunning, Max Scherzer, and Joe Ryan. And they're all basically favorable matchups. You want to say Joe Ryan against Baltimore is a tough one, fine. But Kyle Hendricks has been nice lately, and the Yankees have been a bad lineup. Dane Dunning against the Nationals and Max Scherzer against San Diego, still Max Scherzer. And he takes 3 losses. And if the Yankees don't bail, the Yankees offense don't get on the bullpen, Hendricks loses also. Like, that's 4 losses. So that flips losses. I couldn't believe all of that happened. I expected to lose innings pitched, and I expected to lose strikeouts. Now, Lance Lynn was a benching that happened on a doubleheader. The day prior was rained out, and I was ready to play him. The next day, I just didn't feel comfortable with the getting up and the getting down. And he had an unbelievable game, 7 scoreless innings, 12 strikeouts or whatever. And maybe that gets me to a point where I could have won innings pitched or I could have won strikeouts, but I don't know if I'm necessarily picking up Wade Miley. I don't know if I'd feel comfortable. And then all of a sudden I might be losing other things like ERA
Right.
or walks given up or whatever. So that's all hearsay. The biggest thing that happened was, like I said, on Friday, he gets those 2 quick saves, right? And now he has the lead by 1. On Saturday, I get the 2 saves from Doval and then the late night game with Hader. And firstly, the Marlins beat the Phillies, so he can't get the save there with Kimbrel. And then the lead for the Braves get extended in the 9th inning by 4. So that he can't get the save from Iglesias. You and I were watching that game.
We were.
And then, alas, on Sunday, I bench everybody because I really have nothing to gain and only everything to lose with walks given up. And I'm just hoping that he can't grab the save. And the Marlins win. And finally, the Tampa Bay Rays get right against the Braves. And I win that category. And that's what I was saying. Like, as much as I've complained, and I'm sorry to anyone listening. It's like, all right, we all have issues, Ben. You're over 500. Stop complaining. Like, I have run into a lot of bad luck in the last 3 weeks. I have nothing to bitch about. Like, yes, the Randall Grichuk bomb on the bench bothers me. Absolutely. The fact that last Friday, I played Josh Bell and benched Carlos Santana against you, and that cost me 2 categories. This Friday, I flip him and I bench Josh Bell and play Carlos Santana. Carlos Santana not only doesn't get a run, he gets the error. So if I make that switch on Friday, I win runs and I win errors. That's a 14-7 instead of 12-7. Can I really complain about that? Absolutely not. Not with the luck that I got this week, Joe. There were a lot of things that broke my way.
Yeah, all of those pitchers that are going for his team are rostered players that he's more or less throwing out there to get to get what he can out of this thing, and to get 3 losses out of those guys, including Max Scherzer, is devastating on a Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't expect that. I mean, I'm not sure what I would have done in his shoes, whether I would have started all 4 of them, but they're basically all favorable starts.
Yeah.
So you got to think, when you're down by 1 win, that you can't just get 1 win out of 4 of those starters to tie the category, that I win. That's the other thing, Joe. Let's count them. I won by 1 save, by 1 win, by 1 loss. And what was the other one I won by? There was one more.
Stolen base.
Stolen bases. That was the other one I wanted to bring up. I pick up CJ Abrams and he gets 5 steals for me. That was lucky. That's not even why I picked him up. I was like, okay, this is a shortstop who's been pretty pesky lately. And, he was traded for Juan Soto. He's been a little hot lately. Let me give him a shot. 5 stolen bases, and I win the category by 1 because Jeff McNeil got 1. That's luck. That was
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
expected. That is not why I played him. And in that regard, I could pat my back and say, wow, I managed really well this week. I think I managed pretty well on the pitching side when you look at some of these stats and the way I was able to get certain guys like McCloskey in there and for 2 starts, even though he ended up being terrible against Miami early in the week. But come on, like, can I really complain when this is my ERA over that many innings? Like, no.
No, you crushed it this week, man. You absolutely crushed it this week. And that's why you're sitting up there in 4th place, tied with Frank, just percentage points ahead of him because of the tiebreakers. And listen, nobody in the top 7 or 8 is out of the conversation of a bye right now. We're still so far out that all you have to do is maintain. And I feel like the pieces around you will be the chaos, but you should be able to lock yourself in. I don't think it's going to take something like 30 or 40 games over 500 to make the playoffs.
No, really? You don't?
I just don't think so, because when you're sitting here looking at the fact that the first place team is 31 right now, and the team 27 games behind them is 2 really big weeks out of getting right back into this race. It's not going to take what it normally does because there's so many competitive teams this year. And that does bring me to Adam. I feel like he's starting to think that this is going to be a bad team this year. And listen, somebody has to finish in the bottom half. But what I appreciate about this guy is that even if he does see the writing on the wall that maybe this is going to be a bad year for him, he's competing as hard as he possibly can, man.
I mean, and you can count on him competing through into the final week. And I believe that if he's in the consolation bracket, I'll be getting a text from that guy saying, like, why can't I make ad drops right now? And I have to explain why. He's going to want to compete the whole way. And that's a great sign, because this is one of these guys that the rest of the league needs right now to play spoiler and to continue to compete.
Absolutely. And that's something we're going to talk about more later on in the show. But for right now, we do want to give commendation to Adam for, listen, if you think this is going to end up being a bad season, you're still fighting your ass off, and who knows? Right. I've said the same thing about my own team, and I'm not going to stop competing. And that's all we ask of anybody that's lower in the standings. We know that Bryan Lebo is seeing a writing on the wall for himself and saying that's going to leave a Marcus as his new team name. We're going to talk about that here in a minute, but I digress. You were going to say.
Yeah. I was just going to say that, and I'm happy to know that Adam is one of those guys that has already told me, next year I'm going to do this instead, which just tells me like he's already amped up for 2024.
No doubt. I think that will cover it, and we will move on. All right, guys, we're going to dive right here into the next matchup, and that's going to be Henry Collins taking down arguably the largest matchup win of this season. I don't think we've had one quite this large yet. Now, on Sunday, runs were tied, and Henry took that one. Bryan had a 1-double lead, and he took that one. Triples were tied, and he got that. Henry had a 3-walk advantage. Bryan did manage to salvage that one. And Bryan had a 2-loss advantage, and he gave that tie to Henry there. Close categories this week. Bryan wins by 3 relief appearances and 4 walks. That's it. Henry wins by 2 runs, a double, a triple, 2 errors, 2 saves, and they tied in losses. For Mr. Lebo on his bench this week, Benjamin, it is a 5 for 19.
Oh, come on. Are you serious?
Yeah.
257?
263, damn close, with 2 runs, a double, an RBI, a steal, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts, and an error. The 2 runs would have to be perfect. The double, it's there. It's there to be played, but everything else doesn't matter. His moves this week. He dropped Tuki Toussaint and Victor Gonzalez and added Aaron Loop for a clean relief appearance. He added Wade Miley for 5 innings, a homer, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, a 720 and a 220. He dropped DJ LeMahieu for Joey Wendell, 2 for 5 with 2 runs and 2 doubles. Well done, even though you didn't win those categories. Added Adrian Hauser, 5 innings, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, a 180 and a 180. Dropped Wade Miley for Scott Alexander, 2/3 of an inning, a strikeout, a 150 whip, and a relief appearance. Dropped James Nail for Zach Thompson, who didn't show up. Dropped Joey Wendell and Eduardo Escobar for Joey Weimer, 0 for 3. That's the dude who hit the homer off of our guy in City.
Yeah.
Dropped Steven Matz for Griffin Canning, 2 1/3, a loss, 3 bombs, a walk, a 1350, and a 225, and dropped Joey Weimer.
You saw
his
12.
MVP this week. Yeah, just about. The MVP this week is hard to find. He only won walks. So I'm giving it to Tyler Stevenson with 5 walks and 7 strikeouts with 2 RBIs, 3 runs, a double, and a 211 with a 400 on base percentage. The least valuable hitter I'm giving to Patrick Bailey, 176 with a 222 with no walks, 3 strikeouts, an error, a run, and a double. The Cy Young is, again, difficult because he only won relief appearances. So it's going to go to Nick Sandlin's clean 3 relief appearances, 3 2/3, 4 strikeouts, a walk, and an 055 whip. The Cy Young will go to Bryce Elder, 10 innings, a win, a loss, 2 bombs, 6 walks, a strikeout, an 810, and a 190. It's a bad week to be Bryan Lebo, but a good week to be Henry Collins, who on his bench, Benjamin, goes 9 for 42.
Ugh. Another one. 219.
It's 262, which is weird because Bryan hit 263 on the bench. So with 4 runs, 3 doubles, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, a walk, and 7 strikeouts, and none of it plays because he blew everything out. His transactions this week: he dropped Billy McKinney for Matt Vierling, 2 for 4, a steal, and a walk. He dropped Ben Heller for Keaton Wynn. I even texted him. I was like, who the hell is Keaton Wynn? 4 innings, a loss, a bomb, a walk, 2 strikeouts, a 675, and a 175. He dropped Justin Topa for Tyler Holton, an inning, a loss, a strikeout, a 1 whip, and a relief appearance. He dropped Keaton Wynn for Randy Vasquez, 5 innings, 3 walks, strikeout, and a 120 whip. Dropped Geraldo Perdomo finally for Osvaldo Beto, 4 innings, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, a 450, and a 150. Dropped Mark Leiter Jr. for Zach Littell, 2 innings, 2 strikeouts, a 9 and a 2. Dropped Osvaldo Beto for Garrett Cooper, which was a waste. Dropped Garrett Cooper for Joe Barlow, which was a waste because he dropped Joe Barlow back. Dropped Randy Vasquez for Andrew Vasquez, who never saw the field, and added Alejandro Kirk for an 0 for 3, and added Colin McHugh for 1 inning relief appearance. Looks like he used all 12 as well. His MVP this week, I'm giving to Bryson Stott, 438 with a 471, 3 runs, a double, 2 RBIs, 2 steals, and only 2 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter is anybody who played catcher on this team this week. Jake Rogers, Alejandro Kirk. That's about it, and they didn't do very well. The Cy Young is Jesus Luzardo, 12 1/3, 2 wins, a bomb, 3 walks, 17 strikeouts, a 146, and an 097. Very nice from the Jesus Lizard. The Cy Young is Yusei Kikuchi, 5 innings, 720, a bomb, and 4 strikeouts with a 160 whip. Benji, this is a hell of a blowout victory for Henry Collins. And last week, you had asked if the doctor's team is on life support. Now, is the doctor's team on life support?
Yeah, I think it's in big trouble. I mean, he would basically have to win out, and he needs big wins and he needs help. But what we know about Bryan Lebo is that he loves to compete, just like we're learning from some of these other spoilers, that he's not going to stop. He's going to keep on playing, and that still makes him a scary team on the schedule. But what else can you say about Henry Collins at this point, Joe?
It was a hell of a win, man, and it's one of those wins that makes a rookie like this incredibly dangerous. It builds momentum week over week that yeah, you're not going to win this big every single week, but all of a sudden he's half game out of a playoff spot with 8 to play.
Yeah, and this is a very dangerous team, top to bottom rotation. One of the scarier bullpens we have, a lethal offense that can beat anybody's offense. I mean, if he does make the playoffs, he could go on a major run. Like this could be a championship group.
I
And this
agree.
guy is a rookie. Like he put together this team. Of course, he listened to the podcast preseason that you and Jason and Mike would do. And he was on top of every single one, and just goes to show that he was learning. And as the season goes, he's learning more each week. And this is just like a serious punch in the gut to Bryan and Lebo. And then it's a wake-up call to everybody in the league. It's like, shit, this guy was not supposed to be in a playoff race. I hope that for him, there's not a subconscious part of him that's being like, yeah, I can do this. This is no problem. Like the commissioner me is just like, yeah, I don't want it to be easy for Henry. Like, I don't want him to do this like in his first season. Like, I want him to feel the grind. And there had been points in the season where we talked about how much he was leaving on the bench. Like, he had left a lot of stats on the bench that were winnable. I mean, we talked about a lot of decisions he made against Frank and Matt Loosee. You know, there were times where this guy could be in a much better position, but as the weeks have gone, he continues to learn. He continues to get better. Like on Sundays, he stares at the score and he says, what do I have to gain? What do I have to lose? Why shouldn't I bench my whole entire pitching staff? Why shouldn't I bench my entire offense? I mean, he's thinking like a Bigs manager, and it happened very, very quickly. I haven't seen this kind of emergence since Jimmy Dunlap 2019 when he was a rookie, you know, like that kind of a skill. And Henry now has a chance to be the first rookie to make the playoffs since Andy Solar Greco in 2017. That's really, really exciting. I'm so proud of this guy.
This team is really well put together when you look at it top to bottom. He's put himself in a position where he's leaning on the stars of some really winning teams like the Guardians and the Blue Jays, and he's supplemented that with some stars offensively, and Kyle Tucker, and Luis Robert is having himself a year.
Yeah.
Is he not?
No question. And that came later. You know, he was a guy that Henry was benching a lot because he was disappointing, but it's a long season. And I'm one of those people that is patient with my guys. Like, I like to give them at least a couple of months, and I'm happy he did that. You know, like, I'd like to think that even if Stott started off slow, maybe he would have stuck with them a little bit because he knew he was getting playing time, you know? And it just goes to show that he's been very, very patient with Luis Robert. And it's like, okay, now he'll start playing him all the time. And it's been great. It's been great to see. And like I said, this team definitely has a chance to just win it all if it sneaks in there. It could just crash the party and do it all. I really believe that.
That would be one hell of a story if this guy were capable of making that happen. One thing I do want to point out, the surprises on this team, Josh Naylor is certainly a surprise this year. He's hitting over 300. He's got 64 RBIs at the break.
Yeah.
Hello.
I didn't expect that, especially because the Guardians haven't been that great of a team.
Right.
You know, like they're like a subpar, like average baseball team. He's not doing it with great protection. Josh Bell is batting like 220. You know, it's basically Jose Ramirez and friends, but like he's stuck with Jimenez, right? And Jimenez has been one of those pesky guys that he can play with Bryson Stott, right? And it's just and Perdomo, like he finally let him go, but he was just like mixing and matching with the shortstops and the third base and the second base. And it's just now he finds this formula that's working for him. And yeah, he's still going to bench guys that get stats, but this is the group basically. And you know what's going to happen if like George Springer and Kyle Tucker and Luis Robert are all hot in the same week. You can't beat them. You can't beat them offensively.
No, and then on the pitching side, we're looking at Garrett Cole as the anchor, but this dude stacked good pitchers right behind him.
Yes.
Zach Eflin,
Yes.
3.25 ERA, 102 innings, 105 strikeouts. This dude is just steady Eddie. 7 innings, 9 strikeouts, 7 innings, 7 strikeouts, 5 innings, 5 strikeouts. He's just the epitome of what you want as a 2 or 3 starter.
Yeah.
Charlie Morton, Yusei Kikuchi, and then that bullpen. Holy
Right.
hell, did he put together a bullpen?
Yes, and he had mentioned, I had said like, it seems like you got a lot of closers now. Like, if you were going to make a trade, because he was asking me like, is there something I need? And I was like, well, I mean, I guess you could shed a closer. And he told me intelligently, he's like, that's still a category that I feel like I might be winning, but I'm kind of winning too close. Maybe I should stick with it. I like that intelligence. So like, there really isn't that many holes. And one guy you didn't mention, you mentioned him as the Cy Young this week, Jesus Luzardo. He's playing for a good ball club on the Marlins right now, a 3.29 ERA, 129 strikeouts, over 27 walks, an 8-5 record. What else can you say? This guy is his number 2, right?
Yeah.
If it's him or Eflin, like, yeah, like,
Or
he
Morton.
can get to, right, or Morton, like he can get to the 42 nice and easy and just knock you in the face with saves and then a lethal offense. I don't see a hole in this team right now.
You know what else I don't see? I don't see a loss in the last 6 weeks. He has
Yeah.
tied 3 times in the last 6 weeks. 9-9 against Mike Sherman, 10-10 against Adam Lowenstein, and 10-10 against James McCloskey. But the other 3 are an 11-10 win over me, a 12-6 win over you, and now this 18-2 bombing over Bryan Lebo. The rest of
Yeah.
the way, it's got some potholes in it, but it's got a soft underbelly to it, Benji.
Yes, I agree. I think it's one of the, when we talk about favorable schedules, Henry's got it. Like Costas has got it. Henry has got it. These like 2 guys that you got to, and Frank as well. A favorable schedule enough that if they just do what they are supposed to do, Ari Nisman, very winnable week. Then he's got Josh Haber again. Like Josh got beaten by him on that long week in week 1. It might be different now. Josh is a very different team, and it's a 7-day week, totally different. Can't expect 4 million RBIs from Matt Chapman. And
True.
then he's got Matt Loosee, extremely winnable. Then he gets Mike Haber again. That might be tough. Then of course, yes, he's got to go through the gauntlet of Jason, and then of course,
The karma matchup against Bobby.
right, and then Christian as the second to last, and then he controls his destiny against Costas. That could be a matchup, that week 22 matchup of Costas Henry. Whoever wins goes into the playoffs. Like,
Yeah, I was just going to say that could very easily be a play-in game.
It's got a chance to be an extremely exciting final week. I'm so excited.
Me too, dude. Me too. I'm really, really stoked for what's to come. That being said, I think it's time to move on to the next. Well, let's move on to Bryan's team a little bit here. Let's give him a little bit of love here. Because you know what? The season is not all lost here. It is not over for him. He does not have the greatest schedule the rest of the way. Got me this week, Adam, you, McCloskey, Sherman, Ari, Josh Haber, and finishes with Matt Loosee.
Okay.
It's a bit difficult. He's got a long way to climb out, and we haven't been liking the offense on this team for weeks now.
No, it's got a lot of holes in general. He's not going to be beating too many teams in saves, right? Like, he's like, what do you feel good about this roster going forward, considering his schedule?
It was the starting pitching until Shane McClanahan landed on the IL. Because the trio of McClanahan, Gossman, and Stroman were just nasty. And then you add Bryce Elder as the 4th, and this is a good starting rotation. But the minute McClanahan went on the IL with whatever he's got going on, the minor back issue or whatever, it raised a red flag for me. And if you're not going to be able to lean on that starting pitching, then this team sort of starts to fall apart altogether.
Yeah, and he's gonna have to make some decisions soon, because he's got 2 extra guys on the IL. So he's playing with 24 going into this matchup. Because Brian Hayes has been on his IL, Shane McClanahan's on the IL, now Ryan Helsley and Andrew McCutchen. That's already 24 that you're dealing with. And then if Benintendi needs time, Taylor Ward needs time, like he's going to have to start making decisions, and he's going to have to push the panic button soon, especially since he's got Joe Schubert next week.
Yeah, I have no idea who Dane Myers is. I have no idea. Like, I have no idea if Ryan O'Hearn's going to come out of the second.
Who the hell is Henry Davis?
Henry Davis was a first overall pick of Pittsburgh about 2 years ago, and he's top prospect for them. But that being said, he's not Andrew McCutchen. He's not Taylor Ward. He's not Andrew Benintendi. These 3 guys are supposed to be his outfield. And even that's not the greatest out. Like, if I read those 3 names off, you would be like, okay, I guess that's an okay outfield.
Yeah, no, something's got to give, man, because we're talking about Tyler Stevenson, Ryan O'Hearn, Jonathan India, Josh Donaldson, Trey Turner, Brendan Donovan, Dane Myers, Henry Davis, and Patrick Bailey. That's the 9 he's going out to bat with. Yeah. Like, I don't know what team he can beat in our league with that group right now. I really don't. Like, Josh Donaldson is just horrible right now. I think he has 10 hits and they're all home runs or something. Like, it's something really
something
bad.
Stupid like that. It's like, yeah, I remember hearing the stat on a WFAN recently as well.
Yeah. Donovan's a nice little player, I guess. And having Trey Turner can help carry a team, but not by himself. Like, he needs something else. And to have Tyler Stevenson and have Jonathan India, because the Reds are having some pretty great games and scoring runs in bunches, like, that's good. But again, when we talked about his schedule, it is not favorable. And when we talk about the teams that he's playing, like, I don't think he can compete offensively. And then on the pitching side, he doesn't have enough in the bullpen. He doesn't really have enough in the rotation. He's going to have to rely on his management, which is good. Like, he is a very skilled manager who's been here since 2020 and only gotten better each season. It's just that this group, I mean, that's when we say, like, sometimes, and I don't want to really get into this too much, but he was the #1 overall pick. He'd never done that before. And I think it was something that maybe he just wasn't fully prepared for, like what it actually entails to be the bookend and what could happen if you're not getting it right on those 2 picks in a row.
Yeah, I mean, the Michael Harris pick certainly doesn't look great now, especially since he caught fire, since he got traded over to Frank's team, gained like 70 points in batting average over the time that trade happened.
Brutal.
Yeah, and Brendan Donovan hasn't exactly lit the world on fire since either, though he is having a pretty nice season for a guy with 6 position eligibility. All right, Benjamin, let's move on to the next matchup here real quickly. We're going to talk about the matchup between Matt Loosee and Christian Wood. How are you feeling on this one?
As a commissioner, I'm very, very frustrated, Joe. I'm very, very concerned. I mean, these are 2 managers that have schedules where they could really make a difference. Like, they could play a role and play spoiler and create a story that we could talk about for years to come. Like, oh, I can't believe he couldn't beat Christian or Matt Loosee because they tried their ass off and they are the difference makers. But right now, I'm not seeing it. When you look at their lineup and you look at how hard they worked against each other, something's got to give. Something's got to change.
I hear you. Let's talk about Sunday. Christian led by 1 error and gave that back. Christian led by 1 inning and Matt took that. Matt also led by 4 walks and he gave that back. And Christian led by a relief appearance and Matt overtook that. Close categories this week. Christian wins by 2 triples, 2 steals, 3 strikeouts, and the loss. Matt wins by 2 doubles and 3 relief appearances, and they tied in errors and walks by a pitcher. For Christian on his bench this week, Benjamin, it is pretty nice. It's 6 for 44.
Wow. No. 218.
It's a 136.
Yeah.
7 runs, a double, a triple, 3 RBIs, a steal, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. None of it plays.
What?
Yeah, none of it plays. He dropped Manuel Margot for Ross Stripling, 3 2/3, a homer, 3 strikeouts, a 491 and a 109. And he dropped Martin Perez for Cody Bradford, 5 innings, a win, a homer, a walk, a strikeout, a 180 and a 120. His MVP this week is Wilson Contreras, 647 with a 727 on base percentage. 5 runs, 4 doubles, 2 homers, 5 RBIs, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts with an error. He got on base 72% of the time. That's great.
Yeah, I'll say.
His least valuable hitter is Brett Beatty, 250 with a 357, 2 runs, a walk, 5 strikeouts. That's it. The Cy Young is Ryan Presley and or Jordan Romano, who both had 5 saves combined, all clean with 6 relief appearances. Well done. Well done. The Cy Young is Martin Perez, an inning and a third, a 40-50 ERA, a 6 whip, 3 homers, and 2 walks. I think I did okay dropping that guy. For Matt Loosee on his bench this week, Benjamin, it's a 6 for 24.
What? Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh, thank God. 250.
You nailed it. With
Yes.
3 runs, a homer, 2 RBIs, a steal, a walk, 8 strikeouts, and guess what? None of it plays.
That actually doesn't surprise me. The Christian one surprises me more.
He dropped Brian Hoeing for Kevin Kelly, 2 innings, 4 strikeouts, and a relief appearance, and dropped Andrew Nardi for Michael Fulmer, an inning, a loss, a bomb, a strikeout, a 9 ERA, a 1 whip, and a relief appearance. His MVP this week, right? His MVP this week is Donovan Solano, a 429 with a 455, 3 runs, 6 doubles, a homer, 3 RBIs, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. The least valuable hitter, who had a good week, he just couldn't find the lineup for this guy, was Michael Conforto, who had an 083 with an 083, but like he had a couple of homers in a pretty big game this week, so management. The Cy Young is Kyle Bradish, 6 innings, a win, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, nothing earned in an 083. The Cy Young is Josh Seabor's in his 2025 ERA. Benjamin, I'll let you have this one.
Well, I guess it's really just about who's playing these guys. Like who's got them on the schedule, who's got both of them on the schedule, because they're layups right now. They're an easy win right now for anyone that has them. I know you have both of them, including Christian on the final week, so that puts you in basically good shape. I have Matt Loosee at a certain point. Henry's got both. I think Costas has both, or at least one of them. Frank has both. It seems like a lot of the teams that are racing right now get to play these guys. And I'd like to think that they're going to play spoiler and make a difference. And I just don't know. Especially with Matt Loosee, he's going to have Trout out for like at least a month. So, and when he comes back, like maybe it takes him some time to get going anyway. I mean, both of these teams are just bad right now. Maybe Christians is better just because he made that trade with Jason. Yeah, and he got some pieces back like Wander Franco and Alex Presley, and those guys could play a role, sure, but in general, like these are layups to me, and it's unfortunate. And obviously somebody's got to be on the bottom, but I also feel like they could be doing more day to day to actually help their chances.
I agree. I completely agree. And when you've got a team that isn't good, it is your responsibility to the other 15 members of this league to play your ass off. And unfortunately, I don't think we're seeing that as much as we'd really like to out of these two guys. And that's disappointing. It's frustrating.
But it's not too late. Like it's not too late to prove us wrong and to show that you can make a difference. So if they're listening, just, forget about the first half. It's been a tough season. Just try to have fun. But like, focus on it, and take some chances and play the game and compete. Because I did not see a good amount of it this week, especially from Christian. Like there were days, like that's why I was shocked when you said none of it played, because I saw one day where he just didn't even check the lineup, and there were like 4 guys not playing that were in
I
his
saw it too.
lineup.
Yeah.
So it's just like, wait, did he just not get to it that day? Okay, it happens, like it's the weekend or whatever, but it needs to happen. Like these next few weeks, like we all need these 2 guys to grind it out.
I will also say that Matt Loosee has won 2 weeks all season. One was the first week 16-4 over Frank. The other one was over Mike Sherman 12-8. I mean, that's all you need to say. That the rest are not very competitive. 15-5, 17-4, 14-3, 13-6, 13-7, 17-1 to Bobby. It's not been a great season for this guy, and he's checking often.
Yeah. I mean, at least Christian's got 4 wins. He got a 15-4 win on Sherman, an 11-9 win over Henry, and then a 12-7 win on Ari, and now this week and this one. So like a couple of little ones and 2 significant ones, but it's just.
And listen, if each of these guys get one more win over the next 8 weeks, and there's no reason to believe that they're going to lose out. I mean, they could, but
there is reason to believe that.
Law of averages says that they could win 1 week, and
if
that
they're on top of
they win
might be the difference. You're right. I mean, but in order for that to happen, they need to be on top of it, because this league right now is, you can argue it's as deep and competitive as it's ever been. I mean, 2021, we had a stacked 16 in 2021, but since then, like this is pretty damn good, and
no doubt.
It doesn't shock me that these are the 2 teams at the bottom. But at the same time, like if they grind it out, it's a fantasy week. Like anything can happen. But if they're making ads day to day, more than 2 a week, they have a better chance.
Right. All right, let's move on to the final matchup of the week, Benjamin. This is my matchup with James McCloskey. What'd you see there?
Well, I saw a crazy ass Sunday in your favor, and I saw you the 2 of you just throwing haymakers at each other back and forth. And it's like, who is going to come out on top of this week? And Shohei Ohtani going bananas. But alas, Joe, you came ahead in some really, really close categories, and that was the difference.
Yeah, man. On Sunday, I had a 1 walk lead, and James tied that up. James had 10 ticks on the batting average. I took that. 4 ticks on the on-base percentage. I took that. I had a 1 win advantage, and he took that one. I had a 1 homer advantage, and he ended up taking that one. And strikeouts were tied.
No, he didn't. No. You won home
definitely
runs.
Definitely did.
Oh, you meant home runs by a pitcher.
Yeah, home runs by a pitcher.
Okay, because you won by 1 home run by a batter. Did you lead that category going in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, by 1. So overall, the close categories, I did win by the 1 home run. James won by 2 runs, the triple, 2 RBIs, and a home run given up by a pitcher. We tied in walks and wins. All right, for me on the bench this week, I haven't looked at this number yet. Oh, it's not a bad number. It's 7 for 33.
7 for 33. 7 for 4 is 30. It's 200. So somewhere between 200 and 2. Is it 228?
212. 5 runs, 2 doubles, a homer, 4 RBIs, a walk, 12 strikeouts. And I could have had wins if I played Jack Flaherty, but I did not decide to play him. The 5 runs play, the 4 RBIs play, and the 1 walk definitely plays. All of those are scattered throughout. I guess Max Muncy was one of them with a home run on the bench. Regardless, here's my moves. I dropped Jimmy Cordero for Brandon Belak, 7 innings, a win, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, nothing earned in an 086 at home against Colorado. Dropped Belak for Tyler Rogers, an inning and a relief appearance. Dropped Colin Holderman for Mickey Moniak, 1 for 4 with a run and a strikeout, but he hit a home run later in the week, and that won me that category. And I dropped Hunter Green. No, not Hunter Green. Riley Green. I dropped Tyler Rogers for Mitch White, an inning and 2/3, a walk, a strikeout, of 540 and a 180. I picked up and dropped Jesse Schultens because we talked earlier about the Chicago White Sox doubleheader, right? And the week prior, you had used this guy in a long relief appearance against me, and that's what I wanted to get. I wanted to get like 2 or 3 innings out of this dude and a relief appearance, and they said he's starting the game. I don't want that. I don't need 2 or 3 innings out of a guy that no. And he ended up pitching poorly, so I dodged the bullet there. So I dropped him for Joe. Hang on.
You made like 2 or 3 in like a few minutes. You were like, nope, not that guy. Nope, not that guy. This guy.
Well, I went with I dropped Schultens and picked up Joe Kelly. I need a reliever. It's a doubleheader. Oh, they just put Joe Kelly on the IL. Son of a bitch. So I dropped that guy and picked up the other side and picked up Yimi Garcia. 2/3 of an inning, a save, and a relief appearance.
Unbelievable. After all of that, like you walked into a save. Like that's ridiculous. And to think, and he might have been your guy anyway, but it's just funny how if you just waited another like 30 or 40 seconds, you would have saw the IL on Joe Kelly. Like it happened like moments after you added him. It was crazy.
Yes. I was like, wait a minute, he wasn't on the IL when I added him. What the fuck? That day I also added Jesus Sanchez, 2 for 4 with a double. I dropped Yumi Garcia for Tristan Beck, an inning and 2/3, nothing earned in an 060 whip and a relief appearance. Dropped Dre Jameson for Brennan Bernardino, 2 innings, a walk, 3 strikeouts, nothing earned against Oakland. And dropped Jesus Sanchez. I dropped Mitch White for Josh Winkowski, 2 innings, a bomb, 2 strikeouts, a 450 and a 250. And I added Chris Murphy, 3 innings, of 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, a 3 and a 2 whip again, and a relief appearance. 12 ads, 2 hitters, a starter, and 9 relievers, sir. 9 relievers this week. My MVP this week is Mookie Betts yet again. 348 with a 464, 8 runs, 3 doubles, 4 homers, 6 RBIs, 5 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Yeah, he's ridiculous. My least valuable hitter is Jordan Walker, who hit 130 with 7 strikeouts. So he did have 2 bombs, which was very nice. Needed those.
Important, yeah.
The Cy Young is Pablo Lopez, who threw a complete game shutout with 12 strikeouts, the win in 044. And the Cy Young is Evan Phillips, 11.57 ERA across 3 relief appearances. Took a loss, but did get me a save, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, a 171 whip. For Mr. McCloskey on his bench this week, Benjamin, it is 9 for 41.
Ugh. 227.
It was 220. I was going to cut you off this time, but 7 runs, a double, a triple, 2 homers, 3 RBIs, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Obviously, the only thing that plays is the home run. That came back on the 4th. Renfroe had a solo shot with Nolan Jones over 2 in right field. His moves this week, he added Joey Votto, who hit a home run. Fuck that guy. Goes like 0 for 16 on my team, so I dropped him, and then he hits a home run against me the next week. Go figure. I added Austin Cox he added Austin Cox. 4 2/3, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, a 5.79 and a 1.73. Dropped Joey Votto for Tommy Henry, 6 innings, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts, nothing earned against the Mets. Dropped Cox and dropped Seiya Suzuki for Taylor Walls, 0 for 3 with 2 steals, a walk, and a strikeout. And he dropped Suzuki after the game had started for Kevin Biggio, 3 for 9, a run, a double, 2 RBIs, 2 strikeouts, and an error. He dropped Walls and Biggio for Daniel Lynch, 6 innings, a loss, a homer, a walk, 3 strikeouts, a 4.50 and a 1.17 in Cleveland. He added Owen Miller with an 0 for 4 and dropped both of those guys. 8 used, 5 hitters, 3 starters. For his MVP this week, it is Sean Murphy, 467 with a 529, 5 runs, 2 doubles, 3 bombs, 7 RBIs, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts.
Fuck
The
that
least,
guy.
yeah, fuck that guy. The least valuable hitter is Tim Anderson, 071 with an 071, a run, an RBI, and 4 strikeouts. And, we'll talk about him in a minute, but that's kind of the disappointing shortstop of the really deep shortstops this year. The Cy Young this week, I have a question mark next to Kyle Nelson. 3 innings, 7 strikeouts, nothing earned, and 033 across 3 relief appearances. And the Cy Young goes to Luis Severino with his 23.63 ERA and 4.13 WHIP. He offered him to me in a trade on Sunday. He goes, "You want this terrible Severino? Because he sucks."
Yeah.
Go for it, Benji. What did you see, man?
Well, I mean, you got hit with the Saturday triple from Ohtani. At least it wasn't how I got hit with the Sunday triple, because of course I did again.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from that, you basically dodged a really, really tough week from Ohtani. And the better manager won in this case. I feel like you outplayed him, man. And off you go. I feel like this is it. This is the beginning of the run. You're now +9 in your last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You're what looks like
7 under.
12, yeah, and 12 and a half out of a playoff spot. A very favorable schedule. Like I said, sure, you do have to deal with Mike Haber and Jason and Bobby. But a lot of it is good.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're due to beat Ari on the second time. I mean, you got Bryan Lebo, who's struggling right now, a very bad team. Matt Loosee, Christian. You don't control your destiny, but at the same time, you might not have to. I mean, all you got to do is just win, baby. And I think you'll be okay, man. I'm not counting you out. I can't believe that you have, or you did at a certain point with such a long baseball season ahead. And I know others counted you out as well. That's stupid. That's just silly. I mean, with this much season left, with your experience, I'm extremely confident that you are going to be in the hunt in the last couple of weeks. Absolutely, without question, without a doubt.
Thank you for that. And I'm not saying that I won't be. I'm not saying that I won't be in the hunt and in weeks 20 and 21 and 22. I'm trying for every single category I can get in order to make it 10 straight playoff appearances. But I also see the writing on the wall that a couple of weeks ago, I was sitting down in 13th, and there's a lot of teams to jump in order to get there, man, and not a whole lot of season left. We call it the second half. It's not really the second half. It's like the third is really what it is. And then we go into the playoffs and the back half of the second half for Major League Baseball. Point is, there's a lot of teams to jump. I just got to keep winning. You're right. One bad loss will probably put the nail in the coffin. But we're going to see. I put together this team. This is the team I'm running with. I have 1 trade left. Do I think I'll use it? Probably not. Because this is what it is. At this point, this is what the team is. I've put this team together. I've hated it since the draft, and I've dragged it to this point, and it's going to drag me to the finish line. I really, really want to see this thing succeed. I would love to see this thing make the playoffs, but realistically, I just don't. I think I've traded myself out of the playoffs because I've lost a lot of the trades this year.
Yeah, you have, but again, at the same time, if you beat Matt Lowenstein by 7, you're at 500.
Mm-hmm.
It just like that, you're at 500. And I think any one of us with 7 weeks to go would sign up for that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you're not used to it. This is not something that you've experienced. So you're thinking wow, I'm here, so I'm in trouble. But no, all of us who have been in this spot, who have made the playoffs later, have been around 500 at this point, and that's when you go on your run. It is not how you start. It is how you finish, and that is how it is in the bigs. That's always how it's been in the bigs. You just haven't experienced it, and you forget what that's like. And I don't know if you could even remember, or if it ever happened that you went on a run being this far behind to get into the playoffs. You've never experienced this, so you don't think it's possible. It's not only possible, it's probable. I believe it. And I actually do think that when we talk about teams that have a chance and don't have a chance, I could say that teams like James McCloskey that are ahead of you, or Jason Ashby that is ahead of you, I would say it's almost definite, at least because of scheduling, you will finish in front of these guys.
I'm excited to see if you are Nostradamus. You've done this before where you've talked a lot about a team pretty far back in the pack and you see them climb up. If it's going to be me this year, then look out. Don't let it happen. There's 8 dudes left on my schedule and 6 of them repeated from earlier this season when I was really not doing well. So let's
7 of
go.
them repeated.
Yeah, you're right. 7 of them repeat because Lebo is the one that's left this week.
That's it. That's it.
And
And
then,
it's a 10-day matchup. Like, wouldn't you like, as we talked about this poor offense and this weak team, what other team would you really want to play right now for 10 days? No one. But I mean, sure, of course, a Loosee or a Christian right now that, have so many broken wheels. But I mean, I guess because we know Lebo is going to try his pass off, it's not ideal, but it's basically the best scenario you could put yourself in.
I agree. And I listen, I am thankful for the scheduling gods hooking me up the way they have. I've had some really rough scheduling the last few years. I had Mike Haber final week last year, which was not fun. So I'm hoping that this year might be a little bit kind to me. Although I've said it before, man, if this is how it's going to be, I'm okay not making the playoffs if we get this story, because this story has been pretty damn awesome. If Henry Collins makes the playoffs over me, it's a better story. If Costas Varagas does it, yes.
I agree. Yeah, if Jason Ashby does it, I completely agree with you. Like, we do want to see 6 teams in there that aren't you and me. Like, we do.
Yes.
And to an extent, Mike Haber also, but we know the writing's on the wall that he's getting in. But just the fact that, oh my God, like Bobby and Josh Haber at the top, and it looks like they've sealed it basically, like that's already amazing. That one of those 2 guys could be a semifinalist. Amazing. And it'll be the first time ever for those guys, especially for Josh, who's been in the league since 2006. And for Bobby, 2018, 6 years, right? The only year, 2021, that he got in. Like, so amazing stories across the board. We've said it again and again. When the 2 of us aren't in it, it's better, but we're damn well going to keep trying.
Oh, you better believe I'm coming for that 10th season in the playoffs. And if I can get to a 10th season with this terrible team after getting to the playoffs last year with that terrible team. Oh no, that was the good year. The Mike Trout year was 21. 21 was the bad year.
Right. When you were just so injured, and Jazz Chisholm, and there was just like really
Mike Trout and Anthony Rendon, and it was just everybody.
Yeah. But again, if you get in, dude, who the hell wants to play you at that point? Like, you'd be like scorching at that point, and I wouldn't doubt that you could win 3 in a row. Like, you still have a roster that can win 3 in a row against all the other guys.
We are kind of passing over James McCloskey in all of this conversation. Do you just not believe that this is a team? I mean, this is a really formidable offense. This is a passable rotation. However, the rotation has taken a massive hit with Woodruff and Kershaw going down to the IL. So, do you think that this is a team that can make it?
I don't. I just don't think there's enough. Like we talked about, I knew that the Kershaw thing was going to happen eventually. And like he knocked off like a huge amount of wins right off the bat. I'm looking, he had won 5 of his first 6, and then he lost 2 in a row, and then he won 4 in a row, and then a tie and a loss. The wins haven't been big. The losses have been, besides one against Ari, he won 14-6. But other than that, the wins have been really, really tiny, basically. And
Mhm.
the losses have been basically bigger. A 15-6 loss, a 12-7 loss, a 13-8 loss, a
You're telling me he
15-3
has
loss.
9 matchup wins though?
4 or 5, yeah,
Yeah,
9
9
matchup
matchup
wins.
wins out of 14 matchups. That's
Right, and one tie.
yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. You know what it means is, and I think I said this to him and I said it to you off air. This is our Bob Spot team. This is our Bob Spot team who's going to win more weeks than he loses and be right around 500
Mhm.
and probably miss the playoffs.
Yeah, probably. I mean, he does have a decent schedule. He gets the 10-day matchup against Adam, not ideal. And then he's got me. Then he's got Mike Sherman, which I mean, we'll talk about later. Like, what that is just a lethal team, just underperforming. I mean, this is a better roster than its record. Then he's got Bryan Lebo. Maybe by then Bryan Lebo gets right. Ari Nisman, you never know. Those teams are built kind of similarly. Josh Haber, you don't want to face, and then Matt Loosee, and then he finishes the season with Mike Haber. I think there's too many tough ones in there that could go either way. And then the other thing is like I don't love James's bullpen. I don't think that there's enough there that he's really going to compete with a lot of teams coming down the stretch. Between the
Mm.
rotation and the bullpen, there probably isn't enough there. The offense can compete with basically everybody. And I love that he's still making 8 ads this week. That really helped him in the cause. Like, it's a worse loss than 12-7 if he doesn't make some of those ads. So I give him credit. I think there are too many other teams fighting with a better chance and a better schedule in front of them.
I tend to agree there that the pitching side is that weak at this point that he's going to have a difficult time competing in saves, competing in relief appearances, and sometimes even getting to the minimum. Like we need to worry about that. So
Right.
with all
And
these
just
injuries now.
right. And I mean, he could get to the minimum or he can go crazy and get a bunch of innings to win innings pitched. But if he's going to lose losses and walks given up and home runs given up and ERA and whip in the process, he has to hope that his offense can carry him. And you can't rely on that happening every single week. It's just not going to. There are going to be some weeks that either he bats 220 or 234, and that's not enough, or he bats 288, but his opponent bats 294. We see it all the time. So
Right.
you got to hope for a lot of things to break your way with a bad pitching staff. Like, it just seems like it's going to be too tough.
Yeah, it does. Guys, we talked about the records in part 1. Go check that out. We talked about the difference between this season and last season when it comes to the All-Star break and the standings that we saw. So go check those out. That will bring us, Benjamin, to managers of the week. And with that, who's your number 3 manager of the week, man?
Wow, this has been tough. This has been, plenty of guys that were definitely deserving of it, but how the hell can I not put Mike Sherman in this group? He's my number 3, a 15-6 win over Jason Ashby, basically breaking his heart after Jason had such an awesome win over Mike Haber the week prior, beating him 15-5. He goes from a +10, and then all of a sudden, like, to lose by that much, like that's really tough. I mean,
Ouch.
+10 and then -9, just like that, right? Like, it's
Yep.
almost like it undoes everything. And that's unfortunate because that's a team on the bottom that Jason felt like he should at least kind of stay close to around 500 again. So I'm going with Mike Sherman here. That was a big spoil win.
Go check out Jason's matchup with Mike Sherman. It is the opener of part 1 this past episode. I'm not gonna have Mike Sherman on my list this week. Unfortunately, I thought the offense really came to punish Jason, and as long as you're putting the right dudes in, you're gonna get that out of Acuna and the other pieces that he's got. So I'm gonna go with a guy who continued a winning streak over a playoff team this year. Ari Nisman getting a 12-9 win over Frank Bucco this week. And you know what? Ari put in a little bit of work this week, too. We did talk about it in part 1 as well. Shout out to Ari. He's not listening, but shout out to Frank. You survived a bullet here, man. You could have gotten dump trucked and you didn't. So just maintain your playoff seeding. Benji, who's number 2 for you?
Oh, number 2 for me is Costas Paragas. I mean, to beat up, and he had a really, really big lead on Josh the entire week. Sure, it shrunk down to 13-7, but he just cemented himself. I mean, I was a guy that had been saying, look out for this guy the whole season, but now it just seems like with the schedule in front of him, perennial playoff team right now for me.
Yeah, you almost double up the first place team. You get yourself on this list. That was a really good win for Costas. Did take a little bit on the chin from Josh there at the end, but you know what? This is a really solid win. Gets yourself right into the playoff hunt and right into the playoff picture. It's going to be an interesting final few weeks here because I think this is one of those teams that it's going to be bouncing back and forth in and out of that 6 and 7 and 8 spot for a while. Before landing wherever they do with the playoff picture. That brings us to the number 1. Oh, by the way, he was also my number 2. So I'm assuming we also still have the same number 1, and it's Henry Collins.
Yes, that sounds about right. Yeah. How can you not pick him? A plus 16 against a really, really good manager. I get that Bryan is very broken right now. I get that there's a very weak offense, but we're talking about a rookie team that has been playing against a guy that's been with us since 2020. And he just, again, I mean, I'm repeating myself, but he just continues to get better every single week. And sure, a little bit of luck broke his way on Sunday, but he made his own luck. He really, really deserves this.
Absolutely. He's been playing his ass off, and he's been playing a really, really smart game in his rookie season. He's proving to us why not only does he belong here, but that he's going to be a perennial contender year after year from this point forward. So look out for Casanova. He's coming into the impact zone, into the bigs with a hell of an outfield, a hell of a rotation, and a hell of a team, man. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching on YouTube. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and share all of the things. Benji, thank you so much for being here, man.
It's a pleasure, man. It's been a really, really cozy all-star break for us, and we're ready to get back in it on Friday. I can't wait.
No doubt. Guys, Friday, the games start back up. Next week, we won't have a review, but what we're planning is a whole bunch of fun content from record book talk. We're going to go over sleepers, breakouts, busts from the preseason. We're going to talk about everybody's individual MVPs, their least valuable hitters, their busts in the draft. We've got a ton on deck for you guys. So check that out all next week. Thank you all again for being here. There would be no show without you. And until next time, guys, it's been real. It's been fun. And it is always real fun in the bigs. We'll see you next time.